guys, and welcome to today's Ellechat. Sorry that I'm jumping on a few minutes late. We had a slight technical difficulty, but we're all right now. I'm so glad that you all are joining in today to talk about how, or to learn about how to create custom icons for your brand that are distinctive to your business and will help set you apart from others in your industry. Out of all the topics that I've done for Elchats, this is probably the one I've been most excited about and most excited to teach, especially because recently I redid the Ellen Company site and icons have been such a huge part of the new site. And I've gotten a lot of questions about it. So today I'm going to walk you through step by step how to come up with concepts for them, how to come up with colors for them, how to use them, and what platforms that you can use to create custom icons for your business. But before we start all of that, I want to show you around Crowdcast really quickly, show you around the window and how you can participate during this webinar. That's probably one of my most favorite things about Elchats is having a two-way conversation instead of you all just listening to me. I want to hear back from you. So if you look right underneath this live stream, you'll see a Q&A section. I know that some of you have already started asking questions, which is great. Feel free to start asking questions and ask them as we go along. And you can also vote up people's questions. So if you see a question on there that you really want answered, go ahead and vote it up and I'll answer them in order of the votes. There's also a place for polls, and I have two questions. One is, which program do you use to create custom graphics for your blog or business? It looks like Adobe Illustrator is winning out right now. I also have Photoshop, Canva on there, and other. I know some of you might use Publisher or another platform like that. Second question, what is your biggest struggle with creating icons for your blog or business? Do you struggle coming up with ideas and concepts for the icons? Do you struggle with having a distinct style and making them all look cohesive? Do you struggle with a color palette and incorporating your colors? I want to know. So feel free to answer the polls there. Looks like you guys have already found the comments. It's fun to see where all of you are tuning in from. We have people in here from all over the world, which is awesome. So feel free to jump in the chat there. And there's also share buttons down there. So if you find this helpful and you want to share it with your audience, feel free to do that there too. All right, so with that said, I'm going to alternate between screen share and my face. So we're going to jump in and I'm going to share my screen with you. Bear with me 1 second. All right, a little tunnel vision there. So before we get started, go ahead and turn off everything in the background if you can. Silence your phone. This is your hour where you get to learn and pour into your business. So feel free to take full advantage of it. And go ahead and grab a pen and a piece of paper too. I have a feeling that you're going to take away a lot of great insights. At least I hope so. It's chock full of actionable steps. So while the replay will be up, feel free to take notes as we go along. Now, for those of you who stumbled on Ellechat and you may not know who I am, my name is Lauren Hooker, and I'm the graphic designer and founder of Ellen Company. I can't remember a time when I really didn't love design, and I followed that passion all the way up to getting my Bachelor of Fine Arts from Virginia Tech in visual communication design, also known as graphic design. But I put visual communication because I want to emphasize that design is more than just pretty pictures and pretty graphics. You are always communicating something visually to your audience. And especially as a business owner, this is crucial. You want to make sure that your visuals are saying the right things about your business. And so not only do I know how to use Illustrator and illustrate and come up with pretty designs, I want to come up with effective designs. And I've worked with over 40 design clients on their brands and websites, 24 last year alone. And I really enjoy the task and the challenge of summing up a business visually. And so that's what I love to do. I have a waiting list of over 250 prospective design clients, which is, it's sad that I can't get to all of them, but really exciting. And I'm honored to have that amount of people that want to work with me. I love what I do. I love not only designing, but I love sharing about design because I truly believe that even if you don't feel like you're capable of carrying out cohesive designs, You can. If you know the basic principles and the fundamentals of design, you can come up with great graphics for your business. They don't have to be over the top, but you can come up with some simple, effective graphics. And so I want to teach you how to do that today and ongoing. That's my mission with Ellen Company. But first, I have a question for you. How are you currently using your visuals to catch the attention of your audience and set your business apart? And feel free to go ahead and leave your response in the comments. I'm sure other people who are tuning in would love to hear it too. But how are you using your visuals to catch the attention of your audience and set your business apart? Are you looking to what everybody else is doing out there and trying to keep up? Or are you really making an intentional effort to come up with custom graphics and a custom brand, custom visuals that really, when people see it, they know that it's your business right away, even if your logo isn't on it. So if they see a blog post graphic come up on Pinterest, would they know that it's yours based on the colors you use, the distinct layout, or would it just blend in with everybody else's? So I want you to keep that in mind as we talk about custom icons today. And I want to let you know too that developing a memorable, one-of-a-kind brand is even more in the details than the overall look. So yes, it's important to have a distinct logo, and yes, it's important to have a distinct color palette, but even more so, it's all in those small details. Which is why something so simple like a set of icons can have such a large impact. And so today, that's why we're talking about how to create custom brand icons. Not only for your logo, but also for all aspects of your business. I'm going to get to that in just a moment. And the good news here is that no design skills or crazy budget is necessary for you to do this and for you to create catchy icons that help you stand out from others in your industry. No budget. I'm going to share some free options with you, and you don't have to have a design background. You don't have to have a BFA in visual communication design. You can create custom icons with any skill set, and I'm going to show you how to today. I like to have an outline and an overview of where we're headed. So here's what we're going to cover. First, I'm going to go over the benefits of using icons. Why should you care about using them in the first place? Why should you put effort into creating them? Second, we're going to talk about ideas for where to use them. So if you think that icons could be a fun addition, but you really don't know how you would use them, I'm going to provide you with some great examples. Then we're going to talk about concepts. How do you come up with a concept for an icon, especially for those of you, and I peeked and saw a question earlier, but how do you come up with a concept for a service-based business? Well, I'm going to talk about that today. We're also going to talk about developing a distinct style. We don't want your icons to look like everybody else's icons. So how do you come up with an icon set that's distinctly yours, that if people were to see it, they would recognize your business right away? We're also going to talk about choosing colors, and then at the end, I'm going to go over platforms. So Adobe Illustrator, Canva, what are your options for designing icons? I'm also going to do a little demonstration and show you how you can use those platforms, and then hopefully I'll have enough time at the end for a Q&A and try to answer as many of your questions as I can. So that's where we're headed. But first, the benefits of using custom icons. Why should you care? Why should you even be interested in using them? The first is that icons quickly communicate and reinforce ideas. So if people see an icon, they're going to recognize that first, number one, before they ever read your text. Like your attention probably went to the rocket ship down on this page, because studies show that it takes us 600,000 times longer to decode text than it does for us to process an image. Recently, I launched a visual marketing course, and I had to study a ton of statistics for visuals and why visuals are so effective. And this is one of the key benefits of visuals, and especially icons. They can communicate an idea so quickly. And for something as simple as an icon, it's universal. There isn't even a language barrier for visuals and for icons especially. So you can use an icon to get your concept and your idea across so much quicker than you could to write it all out in text. Text, when you're reading it, it feels like work. sometimes. But to look at a graphic or look at an icon, it doesn't feel like work. Instead, it's fun. And especially for something like even these presentation slides, when you include simple icons, it makes it more fun and it makes people want to see what's coming next. So here's the icon that's coming next. The second benefit, icons are more attention-grabbing and engaging. So when you have an icon on a page, especially when you have it paired with a bunch of text, it's going to stand out first because there's differentiations in color and in shape, and that catches our eye much quicker than monotonous lines of text. So if you want to grab someone's attention, especially for something like a blog graphic or a newsletter header or something that's being seen on social media, by adding a simple icon, you can not only communicate a message, but you can catch their eye because text comes off as a little boring. But graphics and icons are much more interesting and appealing to the eye. And the third key benefit is that icons are a great way to differentiate. A lot of us are in oversaturated creative industries, photography, calligraphy, design. So something as simple as a little icon set can really set your brand apart and make it more distinct. And really, if you take what I'm going to give you today and run with it and put your own creative spin on it, it'll really help you differentiate yourself and set yourself apart, set your brand apart. So those are just a few of the key benefits and why you should even care in the first place. But I have a feeling that you already care because you joined in today to learn how to create custom icons. So we're going to keep going. So where should you even use the icons? I have a bunch of ideas for you. So here are just a few places. Landing pages. On the Ellen Company site now, I have on my homepage 4 simple icons with some opt-ins underneath. And we have been amazed at the response and how many opt-ins we've received from that page. Yes, we put it on our homepage, but those simple icons draw people's attention and are engaging right off the bat. And we've had over 2,000 people opt into our newsletter in 1 month. And I think a lot of it has to do with those icons. Infographics. Infographics are a great place for icons and simple graphics to guide people's eye around a bunch of information in a really fun and engaging way. Blog categories. In your sidebar, to make your categories a little bit more fun and interesting, you can put icons there and make them into buttons instead of just plain boring text. Opt-in buttons, like I just talked about. Newsletters. At the top of your newsletter or throughout your newsletter, just to make it more fun and engaging and to break up the text. And oftentimes too with something like photography, it can take, depending on your skill set, it can take a little bit more time to develop photos, but icons, if you have a simple icon set on hand, you can grab those icons and it's much quicker. So, and it's a little more fun and unexpected than even a photo for something like a newsletter. Packaging stickers. If you have products and you ship them out, a really fun way to get people excited when they see your package in the mail is to have some fun packaging stickers, and you can use icons for that. Pricing guides. Make that text a little less intimidating and boring by adding some fun icons on there. Logos. I know for my logo, I took one piece of it, that ampersand, and I use it as an icon occasionally, so you can do that with yours too. Social media posts, presentations like this one, I have icons all throughout it. Blog post graphics. There are so many ways that you can use icons, and if you come up with a distinct style and a set of icons, you might not be able to use those over and over again in every circumstance, but you have a framework to work within so that when you go to create a new icon or you come up with a new instance where you need an icon, you already have ideas and a distinct aesthetic for your icons to pull from. So how do you come up with concepts for icons? How can you take a concept or an idea and visualize it through something as simple as an icon? Let's walk through a few ways. First, think of synonyms in similar words. So if I had the idea fast and I wanted to get the idea of something going quickly. So if it was like a fast action deal, or you were wanting people to act fast, or you were talking about how quick your services or your products ship, or how quick you can turn around your service times, whatever it might be, just think of synonyms and similar words or icons that would get those ideas across. So you might think of a rocket that's really fast. It's known as being speedy. Same thing with a bolt of lightning, a runner taking off, running fast. Even those three little lines near that shoe here, right here, give off the idea of movement and acting fast, and a stopwatch. So sit down and think of synonyms and similar words for what you are trying to portray, and sit down and maybe just write them all out before you start thinking through how you can visualize that in an icon. You should also consider the end result or the outcome. So, and this was one of the questions I think Suzanne asked it. How do you take something like teaching or consulting or a service that doesn't really, that isn't as straightforward? So if you were to think about photography, you could do an icon for a camera, you could do an icon of photos or a frame. But what do you do if the line of business you're in isn't that straightforward? I would recommend on considering the end result or the outcome. So if you do consulting services, you might focus on the outcome of them making money. Or if you're consulting, you might have speech bubbles talking back and forth, or you might have a phone, or just take different aspects of that service and of your process, or focus on your outcome. And by focusing on the outcome too, that's just good marketing, showing people what they're going to get if they're working with you. So that would be my answer to that question, Suzanne, is think about that end result or that outcome. If it's something like teaching, and there are tons of icons, and actually I'm just going to move on to the next one because I've wanted to mention it a couple times already. Do a quick Google search for inspiration. You might be really surprised at the icons you might find. So if you typed in teaching icon, you would probably see a brain, you'd probably see a head with a gear, you would probably see a desk. You might even see like a whiteboard or a chalkboard. So by doing a quick Google search for inspiration, you can find ideas and concepts that might already be out there. You can tweak it and put your own distinct style and distinct spin on it, but it's good just to help thinking through ideas and concepts. And you might come up, and this happens with me often, you might land on ideas that you think, why didn't I think of that already? So that's what I would recommend. Think about synonyms and similar concepts. Think about the final outcomes of what you're offering, and also feel free to do a quick Google search. That's not copying, that's just getting inspiration. So a couple things too in relation to concepts. Keep in mind whether you're going to be including text alongside your icons, because if you are including text beside your icons, even if it's just 1 or 2 words, you might not need to be as literal with your icons. You might be able to get away with a more abstract concept because you're reinforcing your idea with text. However, if you aren't going to be using text alongside your icons, you might want to go with something a little bit more literal. And oftentimes, at least in the instances that I've heard of, anytime that I've used an icon recently, there's text with it. So I can be a little bit more creative and abstract with my ideas. So keep that in mind too. You don't have to be extremely literal all the time, especially if you're pairing your icons with text. And make sure that the icons you use are easily recognized by your audience. Sometimes it's easy to think that because the icon makes sense to you, everyone else is going to understand it too. That's one of the benefits of Googling some ideas on Google, of course, on Google. Searching for ideas on Google, just to make sure that the concept that you have in mind isn't so abstract that nobody would be able to recognize it. And another piece of advice is to keep it simple. It's easy to overthink, but with an icon, you want to keep the idea very simple. A lot of times icons and the same goes for logos, but they're going to be used in small instances. You usually don't blow up icons huge. They're usually fairly small. So keep it simple, not too much detail. Don't get too crazy with it. Think of how you can boil it down and simplify your concept through your icon. All right, so with all of that aside, you have concepts in mind. What do you do about developing your distinct style? How can you make it look like the rest of your brand and set your icons apart so that they don't look like everybody else's? So there are a lot of things to consider here, but I want you to start coming up with ideas and maybe even taking notes of what would fit along with your brand best. So there's some simple things to consider. Is your icon set going to be made up of simple outlines or flat colors? Or maybe a little bit of both? What would fit your brand best based on what you already have? Outlines are going to be a little more detailed. So depending on how you use them and the variations of those lines, they might be a little more intricate, whereas the flat color is going to be a little bit more bold if you have flat instances and flat shapes. So keep that in mind and set that as a rule for your entire icon set because you want them to all look cohesive. I think that's what you all named as probably your #1 issue with creating a custom icon set for your brand is making them all look cohesive and consistent, like they're part of a whole. If you were to see one, you would know that it went along with the others. Something as simple as keeping them all outlines or all flat colors or a mixture of both, having flat colors inside of outlines, can make all the difference. And this is actually one of the key aspects of icons, I feel like. So keep that in mind. Are you going to stick with outlines or are you going to go with flat colors? Are you going to include background colors or are you not going to include background colors? If you have an icon set, you might choose to do colorful circle backgrounds behind them all, or you might choose to have no background behind them all. What are you going to do and what's going to be your standard? And this might change from time to time, but if you're using them all within one thing, for example, one page on your website or a grouping, you might want to keep this consistent. You can switch up the colors of your backgrounds, but you want the format to be somewhat similar if you're going to make them consistent. So are you going to allow your icons to have a background or are you going to do no background behind it? Are your icons going to be hand-drawn or are they going to be really precise and digitized? For a lot of you, for your brand might be more organic and flowy if you use a lot of calligraphy. Depending on what your brand is, you might want that more hand-drawn look. You might be an illustrator. You might be a calligrapher. For something like that, you might want this hand-drawn look right here. And you know that it's hand-drawn because you can see variations in the weight of these lines. So right here, it gets a little bit thinner. Right here, it gets a little thicker. That happens when the weight of your pen changes. However, this is so precise. Whereas this one is asymmetrical, you couldn't cut it down the middle and have it match up on either side. This one is very symmetrical. The weight of the line is the same all the way around. So consider that with your icon set. Do you want it to look hand-drawn? Do you want it to look a little less perfect? Or do you want it to be symmetrical and perfect and look like it was done on the computer and drawn on the computer? So keep that in mind as well. Shadows or no shadows? Here, lately, I've been doing a lot of circles underneath my icons just to make it look like they're sitting on something, but you may not want to do that. You could also have shadows here underneath the little awning of the shop. You can make it look more three-dimensional or you can make it look more flat. And so are you going to do that? Are you interested in doing that? Do you want flat icons or do you want them to have some shadows? One more thing, I'm going to go back to the slide before it. This one, it has more of an angle, so it looks a little bit more 3D. This one looks flat. So keep that in mind. Are you going to show different angles or are you going to show your icons flat on? The same goes for this. This is very flat on. A lot of my icons are flat on. They aren't very they aren't shown at an angle. There's not much dimension to them. So consider, yours might be, and depending on your brand and how detailed you want to go with your icons, you might choose to switch things up and do things a little bit different. Are you going to leave shapes or space between your shapes? Or are you not going to leave any space between your shapes? So here you can see that these shapes aren't connected. There's space in between each one of these individual shapes that make up the briefcase. But here, all the shapes are connected and they touch. There's no negative space in between all of the shapes. Something as simple as that can make an icon set look disconnected or less cohesive. So think about that as you're designing your icon set. You might be going for a look that looks more like this. And if that's the case, keep it consistent. Keep all of those shapes separate. If you're working on them in Illustrator, you might have a stroke on the outside of it that's white, just so you can see that it's staying consistent and it has that space between each one of those objects. Are you going to do single color logos or are you going to do multicolor? Consider that at the outset. In some instances, even for the same icons that I have, I might do 2 colors or I might do 4 colors. But keep that consistent within your icon set. It would be really strange to have some that are single color and some that are multicolor. You can see that even between these two, it's the exact same icon, the same shapes, but different colors, and you can see the different effects that it has. So if you want to create consistency, you have to think about aspects like this. And again, once you come up with these rules and these standards at the outset, it'll be so much easier to incorporate new icons into the set later on and just keep things looking like they're part of a whole. And you can continue on with all of these things to consider too. You might not even want it to look like you drew it on the computer. You might have icons that have a photo background behind it. You might have icons that have, if you're a painter, you might do some really fun icons that have like paint strokes behind it. You might do gold foil behind it. Whatever you choose to do, make it consistent, but make it your own and put your own creative spin on it. So, like I said, create visual standards and stick to them to keep your icons consistent. And this is just good branding advice to begin with. You want to create those visual standards not only to make your job easier down the road when you go to add a new icon or incorporate something new into your brand, but you want those visual standards so that you can stay consistent and that people will recognize your icons and your brand right away, even if they just see one piece of your brand or your icon set. And a huge part of that, like I just talked about, is choosing colors. So how do you choose colors for your icons? You may be thinking, well, I already have my brand colors picked out, so this is really simple. I don't need help with this part. You might be really surprised by the few tips that I'm about to share with you. One of them is to come up with a wide range of tones. And by tones, I mean light colors, mid-tone colors, and dark colors. So with any icon set, and even the icons that I've been using throughout this presentation, I've had a wide range of tones because they give me versatility, they're a great contrast, and they're more visually pleasing that way. So here I have white, which is really light. I have even this light blue color of the background. Those are my 2 light colors. I have a few midtones, and usually there's more midtones than lights or darks, and those are those pinks and purples that I have in here. And then I have kind of a burgundy, purpley red color. That's my dark tone. And I also, if I were just using those, sometimes I just use one color family. I like to use analogous colors that are on the same side of the color wheel, so all of these are fairly similar in their color values. But I've also incorporated a second color palette. So I have this light blue, mid-tone blue, and a dark blue. So even for your brand, and this is what can really make your brand look more professional, is to have that wide range of tones. A lot of brands end up looking washed out because they've wanted a softer palette and they go with all light colors. And the problem is it's not as easy to read. There's no contrast between the elements, so it's hard to see and distinguish between type and icons and whatever else you might have. So keep that in mind. Come up with a wide range of tones. You might only use analogous colors like I did here. You might incorporate another color family in there to differentiate, but come up with a wide range of them. So for example, I'm going to just click back to some icons we've already seen. In these icons, we have a light color, this peachy color. We have two midtones, this orange and the midtone purple, and then we have a dark plum. And you can see that by using all three types of colors, there's contrast. It's easy to see all the individual elements, and they look more cohesive and professional. Here we have a really light pink up on the handle. That's the word I was looking for. And on the buckle, we have the mid-tone pinks, and then we have a really dark pink for the buckle. So think about that as you're coming up with your icons. It'll also provide some really awesome versatility there for you because you can change things out. So again, one more time, dark purple, mid-tone purple, and then a light purple. All right. So come up with a wide range of tones. If you don't have a wide range of tones in your brand, you can also take some of your brand colors. So say this pink was one of your brand colors. You could take this pink and go lighter, and then you might go a little bit darker. And there you've already added some, by doing that, you'll add some secondary colors and give yourself a little more versatility with your icons. If you have this pretty blue as one of your brand colors, you could do the same thing. You could tone it down a little bit, add some white, and have this lighter blue. You could make it a little bit more bold and intense and darker by making it navy. So think about that. You don't have to go outside of your brand to pull in these colors. You can just come up with different tones for the colors you already have in your brand. Another key is to create a couple different color families for versatility. So just like I said with the purples and the blues, you can do that with the pinks. I took the colors of my brand, the main colors, which are this blue, the purple, and the orange and the pink. I have a few. I like color. And then I just went with really light tones and really dark tones. And you can see how I incorporated it within each one. So I have my purples here, my peachy pinks in these two, and then my blues. So by balancing it out, adding a couple different color families with those tones, I was able to add some versatility and make them all look cohesive, but distinct in their own way. This might look different for you depending on what your icon set looks like, but at the very least, come up with the range of tones for your brand. So we've covered color, we've covered how to make your icons look distinct, why icons are important in the first place. This is probably one of the questions that you all have most, and that's how do I design them? So I know all of those things, but what program can I use to bring my icons to life and start creating them? So I'm going to share a couple with you. Canva is a great one. I'm going to show it to you in just a second. It already has icons in there for you. You can just go in and change out the colors, and it's really helpful. Other people might have similar icons, but the way that you use it and stylize it, you can really make it your own. And Canva is a free website and a free tool. So that is really helpful for those of you who are on a budget. Creative Market. Creative Market is a platform where you can purchase fonts and icons and patterns. Just like Canva, the icons may not be distinctly yours, but by adding in colors and using their templates, you can create custom icons for your business. Publisher, I know some of you use Publisher, and I had a few people email me after this week's Ellen Company newsletter to tell me that they use Publisher and set up templates for their icons and blog graphics, etc. Photoshop, you might be using Photoshop. It looks like many of you are. But what I recommend, hands down, and what I use for all of my design work is Adobe Illustrator. So I'm going to show you Canva and Adobe Illustrator. And here is Canva. I've already signed into my account, but if you land on the Canva site, you can create a free account. You can create graphics for social media and presentations and all sorts of things, but I'm going to use custom dimensions up here. Maybe make it 400 by 400 pixels, and I'll choose design. And it's going to open up in the Canva window. Now, Canva, for those of you who are interested, it's canva.com, canva.com. And I'm going to click over here. It has layouts, but I want to go into elements. And they have icons down here. So we'll click icons, and they have a ton of icons. Some are free. I think you might be able to purchase some too. I'm going to scroll down so you can see all of the options here. And they have different styles. So here they have a lot of great options in different styles. I might choose, let's do this icon. And hold down Shift and drag it out so it keeps its proportions. And then you can come in here and change the color. So here there's a navy blue. Might change it to, I might add a color down here. You can add the hexadecimal color so it is exactly true to your brand. So I'm going to jump into Illustrator really quick and grab some of my brand colors. I'm cheating, but you probably have yours on hand already. Oops, wrong one. All right, so I'll add that in here. So there's my blue. Go back into Illustrator. Grab another hexadecimal value so it matches my brand. You can click on the icon, choose that red color because I want to switch it out. Click on the plus. I'm going to paste in my value for the lighter blue. And there's an icon. Like I said, it's not super custom to your brand. You can just go in and add your colors. You're not actually drawing it out yourself or choosing. You don't have very much choice in how you customize it. But this is a great option, just a great simple option. From here, you can choose download, and you can save the image for web. You can do a PNG, you can save it for print. There are a lot of options there. If you want to add another icon to this set, you can click Add New Page. Maybe this time I want a speech bubble. I'm going to drag it out and make it a little bit bigger. Try to line it up on the page. There we go. I want to get rid of that red. It saved my colors down here so I can make things consistent and choose that light blue. For the dark blue, I'll come in and choose my brand color. You can see that they look consistent. They used an outline and a fill color, but they made the fill color off-center a little bit so you see these white lines. And that's consistent throughout the entire icon set, and that's why they all look alike. So there you have it. We'll do one more, just for the sake of example. Maybe this time we'll use the search icon. Drag it out, change out that red, change out the blue, and there we go. So there's an icon set. Now, like I said, you're limited. You can only customize it so much, and there's only so many different options here. So if you came up with a clever idea that fit your brand better, you'd have a lot of trouble recreating it or making it look consistent in Canva. But if you come up with an icon set in here where you can find all that you're looking for, this could be a really great option. So there's Canva. And the other one I want to go over, and I showed it to you just a moment ago, is Adobe Illustrator. Like I said, I do all of my design work in Illustrator. I very rarely work in Photoshop or InDesign. I feel like Illustrator is the program that I can go to and get everything done all in one place, which I love. Illustrator also lets me have different artboards, which is this kind of grid that you see here. All of these white squares are artboards. So I can have a ton of icons all in one place and save it all in one file, but I can save them all separately for web too. So it's just really helpful and convenient. Illustrator is different from Photoshop in that Illustrator creates graphics based on mathematical logarithms. Now that sounds really complicated, but it really isn't. And here's why. Anytime you use Photoshop or even Canva, when you go to work with the images in there, maybe not Canva so much, but definitely Photoshop, you're working within pixels. So you can only zoom into a photo so much before you start seeing those boxes of color. But with Illustrator, we can zoom in forever. I mean, I'm zooming in, I'm using a shortcut. Zooming in forever, and these lines are still crisp and clean. That means that you can increase the size tremendously. And that's why a lot of designers use Illustrator for logos, because you can increase the size tremendously. And all of those images are going to be crisp and clean. So that's a huge advantage to using Illustrator. Plus, I feel like once you get to know the tool panels and the workspace, it's incredibly easy to use, and you can do just about anything in here. So I wanted to walk you through just really quickly how I created these icons that you see here. And we'll start with this graphic here. So first, and to some of you this might seem a little bit foreign, but I'm just going to show you how I work. I'm dragging out just a simple square. I can use my little eyedropper to match the color that I have here. A lot of times I'll go ahead and add my brand color to the color palette and the swatches I have over here. And it has some lines that let me know that it's in the center, which is great. So then I can create another box around it, make it look like it's selected. Holding down Shift, I can make sure that it keeps its proportions too. Again, I can take my little eyedropper and match the color, switch it from a fill color to a stroke color so that it's an outline instead of just a box of color. And I'm going to change the weight of that outline a little bit. Maybe I'll make it a little bigger so you all can see what I'm doing. Then I want to make it look like it's selected, so I'm going to drag out some other squares here. Oops. Zoom in a little bit more. Hopefully you all aren't getting dizzy. I'm just copying and pasting these shapes. It goes to show you that it doesn't have to be super complicated or time consuming. This is what I want you to take away from this. It doesn't have to be complicated or time consuming to create custom graphics. And once you come up with a distinct style, it's really easy from there. So you see how there's this selection box around it? That's what I'm actually trying to recreate and make this icon look like. Here we go. It's not centered. Now it is. So we have the little box. That was easy enough. I'm going to type out some text here, come into my character panel, maybe make the text not so far apart. I'll change the color. Actually, I'm going to zoom out, take my eyedropper tool, and just match the text there. There we go. There's one icon down. Now, if I want to recreate this icon here, simply drag that out. Use the eyedropper tool again. I'm cheating. And for something like this, especially with social media icons, I have a little cheat that I want to share with you, and this also makes Illustrator awesome. So I'm going to go into my window again. I'm going to go to Google, and I'm going to type in Twitter icon. Now, when I see the Twitter icons here, I'm going to go into Images. And this is not licensed to copy necessarily, but it's really helpful for shapes, especially if it's something like a logo like Twitter and you're trying to create your own icons, your own social media icons. I want a really high resolution image. So if you, which means that it's really big, has a really high number of pixels. So as I'm hovering over some of these images in Google, at the bottom you can see that this one's 512 pixels by 512 pixels. That's all right, and that'll work, and you'll see why in a second. But this one is 4,096 pixels by 4,096 pixels. So it's really high resolution. I'm going to right-click and save image as Twitter on my desktop. I can come back into Illustrator, and I'm going to place that image into Illustrator. Now, right now, if I zoom out, this is huge because it was 4,096 pixels by 4,096 pixels. So I'm going to downsize it. Oops, disappeared. Downsize it even more. All right, there we go. And I'm going to zoom it in. Now, because this is an image and it's a raster image like I just talked to you about, it is made up of pixels. So I can't change the color. If I tried to come in here and select a blue, it's not going to change the color because it's an actual image and you can't do that within Illustrator. They have to be vector shapes, and I created all vector shapes by using this tool panel here. But I can change it into a vector trace by a little trick called image trace up here. So it converts this image into a raster image. Says it's going to move slowly because it's such a big image. And if I expand it, you can see now that there's a bunch of anchor points and it's a vector image. So like I said, it just went from being pixelated to an image that can be sized huge if I want it to. So I'm going to get rid of the background. Now when I select the image, I can make it a different color. So if I wanted to make it that blue, I could. Instead, I'm going to make it match my brand colors. And there we go. We can customize it. If I want to, I can add a little speech bubble. I'll drag out a shape, make it match. I'll come in with the pen tool. This is another advantage of using Illustrator. You can draw in Illustrator. I'm just going to make it look more like a speech bubble there. Send it behind. There we go. And I'm going to save this color down here. Again, I'm working really quickly. For those of you who know Illustrator, you'll probably know what I'm doing. Add it in and join these together. Make this a little bit smaller. You can see how the icons coming together can make this a little bit bigger if I want to. Can change the stroke a little bit so that it's more rounded if I want to, but I'm just going to leave it like that. So that's close enough. There's that one. And I'm going to skip out on this one at the moment just for the sake of time because I really want to answer your questions. But you can see that it really doesn't take long to come up with an icon set once you have a concept, once you have a distinct style, and if you know how to use one of these programs. So I'm going to go back into here. Again, Canva was the one we went over at first. Creative Market is the one you can buy icons, the platform where you can buy icons. Publisher, I'm actually not familiar at all with Publisher, but I know some people use it. Photoshop, again, it's a little bit harder because you can't create vector shapes in Photoshop. And then Adobe Illustrator, which is my personal favorite. So some of you, after watching Adobe Illustrator and watching me work in Adobe Illustrator, you saw that really the options are endless there. There's so much that you can do. If you have an idea, you can probably carry it out using Illustrator, but you might be a little intimidated by watching me, especially with the shortcuts and thinking, oh my word, how could I ever learn a program like that? And that's where my latest Adobe Illustrator Basics course comes in. This course has been one of my favorites out of all of the courses all three that I've launched. This continues to be the favorite. And in this course, I share step-by-step video lessons to equip you to create custom, one-of-a-kind graphics for your business using Adobe Illustrator. So not only custom icons, but also logos and blog graphics, and I gear it specifically toward business owners. So you have actionable takeaways from it. It's not just, here's how to use Illustrator, figure out how to create graphics for your business elsewhere. No, I'm teaching you Illustrator, but I'm showing you how you can use it for your business all the while. So here's what's included in that course. It's live instructional webinars every Wednesday at 12 p.m. from April 13th through May 11th. that it's over the course of those 5 weeks. And the reason that I do instructional webinars over recorded lessons is because I want you all to be able to ask me questions. I want to be able to help you, because I know that learning something so technical like Illustrator, you come across questions along the way. So I want to be there for you. I want to answer your questions. I want you to be able to tune in live. But if you can't tune in live, that is totally fine too, because I record every live lessons that you can watch it for the first time if you weren't able to tune in live, or you can watch it again and again in case you want to review those lessons. So you'll have 1 year of unlimited access at least. I taught the first course well over a year ago, and they still have access and will continue to have access. And you'll have access to the recorded lessons and also all the practice files and bonus files that I include. I also have a comprehensive workbook of checklists, guides, cheat sheets for you to use throughout the course. I love having those tangible takeaways. So I think it's helpful to have something to write on and even see those cheat sheets of the tool panels and all of that too. And I have practice files to help you with each lesson. So you have all the Adobe Illustrator files. You can follow along with me as I'm teaching you the tool panels and teaching you about colors and type. You have practice files to follow along with me. So here's what some of my past students have said. I've taught this course 3 times now. Brienne took it the very first time I offered it, and she said, after taking this course, I have been able to incorporate graphic design into my business services and increase my income enough to take my business to full time. Thank you so much, Lauren. So that's awesome. Brienne, when she was taking my class, was a photographer. By the end of it, she not only was able to create graphics for her photography business, but she was able to offer design services for her clients too, which is awesome. And she was able to take her business full time. So really great results using this course. And then I also had a blogger take the course too, and she said, Lauren's course strips away the complexity of Illustrator and teaches the exact skills a creative blogger needs the most, ultimately allowing you to get right to work creating your brand and creative products quickly and efficiently. I can't recommend this course enough, and excitedly look forward to other courses by Ellen Company. And if you look at Megan's website, the homes I have made, she's done an awesome job using Illustrator to really customize her blog and her website, create printables for her audience. She just took it and ran. So in the course, we cover navigating the Illustrator workspace, which you just saw a moment ago. It looks like there's a lot of options, and there are, but I'm going to cover how to use the tools that are necessary for business in particular. I also talk about how to create vector graphics, so how you can draw all of those icons that I just shared with you, working with color and type, transforming, aligning, and grouping objects, and then we go through file finishing and saving as well. So those are all 5 weeks, the topics of all 5 of those weeks. And in the past, I've offered this course 3 times, and it's sold out within 15 minutes, which has been crazy. We've had awesome turnouts for these courses. We're only going to take 150 students this round because this is the only time I'm going to be offering the course in 2016. People have been waiting since over 6 months for this course, and this is the only time we're going to offer it in 2016. It opens, registration is opening Thursday, March 25th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. However, because you took the time to tune in today, I'm giving you early access. So if you click on that button on your screen where it says Learn How to Use Adobe Illustrator, you can click it, have early access, be guaranteed one of those 150 seats because seats for this course go really, really fast. So I wanted you to have early access, not only to create custom icons for your brand and your business, but also to create custom business cards and blog graphics and infographics and whatever it is you need to create for your business to set it apart. I want to help you do that. And not only that, but for those of you who do purchase today, I'm going to give you 3 months access to the Ellen Company library. And if you're already a library subscriber, then I'll give you free access as well. In the library, and the reason that I've included this is because the library is full of Adobe Illustrator files all ready to go for you for your business. So we have blog post templates here. You can simply take these into Adobe Illustrator, change out the colors and the text, and you're good to go. We have calendars that are printables, to-do lists. We have business card templates for Adobe Illustrator. You can download them, again, change out the colors and the fonts. Note card templates to match your brand as well. So if you purchase the Adobe Illustrator course today, you'll not only get one of those seats because they go really quickly, but you'll also get 3 months of free access to the library as well. A little treat for tuning in today. I'm so grateful that you all took the time out of your day to tune in. So in the meantime, also wanted to tell you that this offer is only available today. So if you don't act fast and you don't get your purchase in before 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time, so that's 7 hours, you'll have to wait until registration opens on March 25th at noon and try to get one of the seats that are left over. But I want to stop sharing my screen now. Again, if you want to access that course, you can click the button that I've included on the screen, learn how to use Adobe Illustrator. But before we go, I want to answer a few of your questions that have come in. So I'm going to stop sharing. Hello again. Great. So let's go back to the Q&A. So I see Suzanne's question. I'm going to go ahead and start answering it, even though I kind of touched on it already. But Suzanne says, do you have any great methods for how to come up with ideas for icons for a service business? It seems more obvious if you work with a tool like pencils, cameras, etc. But if your business is more offered or oriented into offering services rather than products, how do you then capture the essence of the service on your brand design? Any great resources on where to learn more on this topic? So just like I said, Suzanne, think about the final outcome. So when someone, and I don't know what service you might be referring to, but if someone is coming to you for a service, what is the outcome that they're coming to you for? And try to visualize what that could look like. You can visualize steps of the process. It also depends on how your icons are going to be used. But yes, great question. I hope that answers it. If not, feel free to ask a more specific question in here too. Angelica says, how can I create an icon when I actually cannot draw? And just like I showed you a moment ago, you can look to other sources for inspiration. You can use simple shapes. You can use Live Trace in Illustrator to outline some of those simple shapes and then make them your own by adding in shadows and things like that. And really, the great thing, and I saw this in design school a lot too, you need a little creativity, yes, but really anybody can draw online. It's a lot harder to draw with a pencil and a piece of paper, but with tools like Adobe Illustrator, it doesn't take a lot to go in and draw those simple shapes. It takes some practice with the pen tool, but really other than that, you don't need a ton of great drawing skills. So I hope that makes you feel a little better about it, Angelica. Let's see, Chris says, what tips would you recommend for how to encapsulate your brand's message into an icon? I think what you're referring to too is icons with logos, and that's a little different than just simple icons for your website or other materials. I would say a lot of it has to do with color and color psychology. Also the shapes and fonts that you use within your logo and the composition of it. There's a lot of different things that go into that, Chris, but yes, I think a lot of it has to do with the colors, the shapes that you're using, and the iconography that you use in there. And again, thinking about synonyms and really thinking through your mission statement, picking out words from your mission statement that stand out and trying to visualize those in an icon that you might be able to include in your brand as well. A lot of answers there, but great question. All right, I'll answer 2 more. Hey, Lauren, do you create all of your icons from scratch? I'm a big fan of your work. Thank you, Sandra. Yes, a lot of times I'll go and look for ideas. Like I said, I'll Google and say, what's an idea icon? And then I'll see an icon for a light bulb or something like that. And so I'll look at the icons, and then I'll try to get an idea, and then I'll go in and draw them and try to make them my own. But yes, I draw them all in Illustrator, just like you saw. And one more. The Texas Homemaker asks, I'd love to know when using multiple artboards how to print just one. So I'm going to share my screen with you and show you how you can do that. All right, so if I wanted to print or save just one icon, I simply click on the artboard, and I know which one I'm clicking down here in my artboards panel. So if I wanted to save this one for web, or if I wanted to print this one, I click the artboard, and I would click print. Oops, this one's just doing 1 of 6. I can come to range for printing and choose 2 if I want to, and it's going to just print that icon. Or if I want to save it for web, I'll go to File, Save for Web. I can change the dimensions or the quality if I want to. I can change it from a JPEG to a transparent PNG if I want to. That way, if I want to lay it on top of a colorful background other than white, I wouldn't have an ugly white box around it. And then I can save it from there. Usually it's by either clicking the artboard and saving from there, or if you're printing, making sure that you select the range. A great question. All right. Sorry that we all don't have more time today. Try to get through it as quickly as possible. Remember that deal, the fast action bonus for the library. If you purchase the Illustrator course, this is early access. You're going to have to wait another week and try to fight for a spot next Thursday. So if you're interested in using Adobe Illustrator and learning more about it on how to create not only custom icons for your brand, but custom graphics for your brand, then join me for that course. You'll learn a lot. It's a lot of fun, and it's some practical, actionable, helpful takeaways in that course. By the end of it, you might be intimidated by Adobe Illustrator at the moment, but by the end of it, you'll no longer be intimidated by Adobe Illustrator. So remember, that will end at midnight tonight, Eastern Standard Time, so you only have less than 7 hours. It's through that button right there, but also if you want to go to a URL, actually I'll grab that for you right now and stick it in the comment section. There we go. Find the comments. Great. And you're welcome for the early access. I'm so excited to see that from you all. If you have any questions about it too, feel free to send me an email, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you all again for tuning in. I hope that this was helpful for you. I can't wait to see the icons you come up with. Please let me see them. Send me an email. Reach out to me on social media. I'd love to see it. And great. Hope you all have a great night, day, whatever time it is where you are. See you next week for another Ellechat. Bye, guys.